Welcome. I'm Liz Taylor, ocean explorer, naturalist, and entrepreneur.
I'm Sylvia Earle. I'm an oceanographer, explorer for the National Geographic, founder of Mission Blue, and I'm an ocean elder. Thank you, ocean elders, for sponsoring this program.
And this is our show, Dive In, where we host informal and open conversations with the ocean community on topics of wonder and interest. And before we dive in, let's remind everyone that
the world is cool.
Blue.
Show the picture. We can show the picture. It's blue. It's blue.
Just give me a minute until I get to the screen sharing part now.
Okay.
And we're going to introduce today, we're such a gift to have our bona fide navigator, wayfinder in our midst.
Yes.
Nainoa Thompson with the Polynesian
Ocean elder.
Yes, ocean elder with the Polynesian Voyaging Society. Welcome, Nainoa.
Mahalo. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's a privilege.
Great to have you back. This is the second time we've had a chance to dive in with you. Won't be the last time either.
Yeah, no, not the last.
Where is your PowerPoint? Here we go.
Bring it back.
Oh, no.
It's,
Yeah, I know. I have to drag it across.
There we go.
Because it wasn't where it was supposed to be.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, okay.
it's blue.
Okay, guys, I said this to you for any kind of reference you might want to use. I don't really have a PowerPoint, but I can speak to it if you wish.
We have your slides, and so I'll drive through them here, but we did want everyone to think about this view of the Earth, especially think about this view of the Earth.
The blue face. And within that, the heart of that blue part of the planet, traditionally, I think the line is not as straight as this would imply, but from where you are in Hawaii to Rapa Nui to New Zealand and just about everything in between and beyond.
And this is the second, I guess the last time that we connected here on Dive In, you were preparing to embark on your a new global voyage. And it's 15th major voyage of Hokulea. And you started and going across the Pacific Northwest. So can you tell us a bit about that journey?
We started the next one.
Oh, the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I worked for this organization. It's 51 years old, and next year, 50 years ago, it would have launched our first canoe in 600 years in Hawaii. And
Wow.
That's a traditional deep sea ocean voyaging canoe that was considered the best guess because we forgot so much about it and the history. So it had to be these very visionary people and genius people who actually went and constructed this first canoe, and it's been our vehicle. It's like the spaceship of our ancestors, and we've sailed. God darn, we're going to be at the end of this voyage right now, probably be over 300,000 miles. So it's allowed us to, frankly, reconnect to our heritage and our deepest ancestry is the oceans. And so I could go on, but it's Hokulea is the name of the canoe, and it's 62 feet long and about 22 feet wide, just powered by the wind. And this particular voyage was really, it stems from the outcomes of the learning of the worldwide voyage that we did around the world in 2014 to 2017, 37 months, 42,000 miles. What's interesting about this voyage, the reason why we started in Alaska, because we wanted to end up in Russia. And we did the early planning years ago, and to circumnavigate the Pacific, because the worldwide voyage told us many things, but what we learned from the worldwide voyage, that if we value life the way it is, you have to protect the oceans. It's the most important place on the planet. And so we went from exploration of the earth to now to start to learn more about it, focus on it, and take action to help try to protect it, primarily through education. And it's called Moananuiākea.
Hmm.
Moana is oceans, Nui is great, vast. Akea is essentially, it's the ocean of the great expanse. And that triangle you saw of Polynesia with Hawaii and Rapa Nui and New Zealand, Aotearoa, that's 10 million square miles.
Go back to it for a
Nautical
second.
miles of oceans. It's,
Here we are.
yeah, it's 3.5 times bigger than continental United States. And this is my country, my ancestral country. It's where my ancestors come from. And that voyaging canoe had the greatest navigators of all time who would discover all these islands. And if you exclude the landmass of Aotearoa, New Zealand, and add the total square miles, it's 600 times more water than is land. This isn't and so
World
we're
is
trying to reconnect. We're trying to figure out, who are we? We need to rediscover what we forgot and bring it back into the relevant to the 21st century. So essentially, we're sailing and we're learning, we're discovering, we're connecting, and with people and helping try to remove one of the great dangers of our time. It's ignorance. And,
Absolutely.
And anyway, that's kind of what we're doing.
And
So
This voyage, I'll just add, is right now that we've added another year, because we changed the schedule, it's going to be 53,000 miles. And the reason why I say that, circumnavigating the Pacific Ocean is longer than in distance than going around the world, because the ocean is so big, the Pacific is so big. But I'll remind ourselves that it's not the Pacific and the Atlantic, it's one ocean. It's
yeah,
one
we say it all the time. We always say, people say, oh, the oceans. We're like, ocean.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll be quiet.
No, but the few images here of the launch in 2014, this one, where a subset of the ocean elders came to really wish you well as you set out on that global voyage. And the next one, you can actually catch a glimpse of the elusive Gigi Brisson sitting there on the front row with a beautiful lei around her neck with a white hat. You rarely catch her with a camera, but we got her here. Well, we're all assembled, some of us at least, to really begin that extraordinary mission that took you, and actually Jean-Michel and I met up with you in Samoa, and you took a little bit of time to go see what was under the canoe.
Yeah.
And we did
Yeah.
find some things that we hoped we wouldn't see. You can go to the next one, although Jean-Michel is giving you the A-OK. There you are. You know, you do know how to swim.
I should hope.
But there was just so much stuff under the sea that we spent most of our time just cleaning up what was there. And I think that's one of the messages, that we have to look at what we've done to the ocean and try to do better going forward.
Yeah.
There we are on the surface. Now we can start on the new voyage.
On the new voyage, yes. So here's the beautiful Hokulea.
Yeah.
This is in Alaska, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And
You
did-
see all the pine trees. Yeah.
Yeah. And so did part of the original materials from Hokulea come from the Pacific Northwest?
Yeah. We actually started this Moananuiākea voyage on a voyage to French Polynesia from Hawaii in 1922. And that voyage was to go to a place, a sacred, they called it Marae Tapu Tapu Atea. And that's where we believe, all of Polynesia knows, that was the origin of the most powerful navigation school up to the 13th century. And there, the elders, those are our ancestral families. So we went there to pay respect and ask permission to take Hokulea outside of our country to the rest of the world. And so it began there, and then we actually put the canoe on a Matson ship and shipped it to Seattle, then took it up to Yakutat, Alaska. And the reason for that, we wanted to have a circle from Alaska. As you know, Alaska and Russia, if you add on the small islands in between the two countries, it's very close. You can see it. And so it was like this circle that we wanted to create that lay around the Pacific of, and every stop, every event that we learn something, everything, we have some act of kindness for the ocean. Every time we meet a stranger that's taking care of their home and protecting their communities. And it's like adding another flower. We started here in
Okay.
Hubbard Glacier at about 60 degrees north, because this is the tribal lands of, I would say, one of the greatest indigenous leaders of the 20th and 21st century. He was a very important mentor in my life, and he unfortunately passed away during COVID, not of COVID, but, and we never got to get up to his native village because they had to be isolated because of COVID. So we started here out of respect to him, and we started at the Hubbard Glacier. Now, my understanding, and look, I'm not a scientist, I might be all wrong, but I think in Alaska, of all the thousands of glaciers, this is only one of two that's still advancing. The rest are not advanced, or they're retreating fast. And so
Yeah.
we went up here to thank this glacier for doing what it needs to do. And then we started there, and then we went south. We went south through Alaska and through, kind of cold,
Old.
Alaska and through British Columbia, and then down to the Pacific Northwest of the United States, down to San Diego. And what an extraordinary voyage. I mean, it took us out of the tropics into this, this beautiful place and it's seemingly so wild up there, but when you talk to the indigenous people there, it's changing fast. And we tried to get on the glacier, but that was a little kind of too scary. But
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's an iceberg or what, but it was precious, and it's a different waters. It's one that we didn't know, so we paid great respect and humility to this place, and we trained hard. And going down, we went to 43 different indigenous communities along the way. We met with even this particular humpback may have come from Hawaii. And
Yeah,
brought his children home. Yeah, and
that amazing journey.
so their family, their relatives, and we had time to spend with science up there, and starting to try to learn to understand, because we can't protect what we don't understand. So for us, we need to explore. And so anyway, it was a very, very precious voyage, and learning so much about the history. But still I blink, right, when they say with pride, this Native people, I've been here 14,000 years, and even still I blink in terms of the age of the ocean. But the reason why they bring that up is what happened to them in the last 250 years, where the disconnection started, and I'm not going to go too much into the story, but it's, we listened and heard the same story through all these communities about how long they lived there, and they're still there, and they're still present, which meant that they understand this place better than anybody else. And, but during those 250 years, they instituted residential schools, which are just horrific. With this connection, we're not going to go there. But it's really important about the history. The question is, what were they going to do after the residential schools? And I'll just summarize them. It's hard. It's still hard, but I have so much admiration for the courage of this people. They say, to take care of our place and take care of our people, we cannot expect anybody else to do it. We'll do it ourselves. So they institute their own guardian programs for protection of the natural resources. They institute their own cultural base in the forests, in the streams, in the rivers, schools to deal with the with the addiction issues and to deal with the depression issues of their children, they take responsibility for it. They're advancing, they're moving forward. And they protect two things that are just that you heard over and over again. One is home and one is family.
Mm-hmm.
What we want to do is protect the only home we have. That's the island Earth. There's no other island anywhere in space. I don't care what they say. The best day in Mars is the worst day on Earth. And so we learned so much about this movement of courageous people, and we just want to be a part of the wave, the movement to care. And so our constant voyaging, it tells us many things. One, how much we're hurting the Earth, how much we need to do to fix it, but also know that movement of care and compassion and caring and love and aloha for their home and their families is strong. And that's where the hope is. It's in those people. Yeah.
And this is where you came to, was this the landing in Juneau?
In Juneau, yeah. This is a sacred landing site in Juneau. Tribal people came down and, well, everybody was invited. Everybody was there. But that's where we were greeted here on the beach. Then we had a dinner the next night. Was 1,100 people came, and in a small place, and trying to connect to make us a larger family.
Well,
Yeah, these are the elders that allowed us permission onto their land. We will not go into anyone's. It's like walking into a stranger's house and say, "Here I am. I want to come inside and have dinner or something." We don't do that. We need permission, so it's out of respect to. And so these are the elders that actually were the ones that gave us the permission to come.
So powerful.
so it's really wonderfully symbolic. The Polynesian voyage in canoe coming from Hawaii to Alaska, as you pointed out, it's the same trajectory that the whales, the humpback whales, follow. They don't have to ask permission, but
That's true.
maybe they do. I don't know.
No, it was so amazing when we've been up studying the humpback whales
Yeah, you
in
were
Alaska
there.
and
You
gone
were
up there
in
and
both places. You
both
were
places
both,
and went across and it was so cool to be able to recognize those individual whales that we watched up in Alaska, feeding on the krill and the herring, and then making that long transit across to Hawaii.
And showing up with their babies in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the connections, that's again part of what this new voyage really emphasizes. It's the connections, the people in the ocean and the creatures of the ocean, aside from the humans.
So imagine just being able to
Oh,
see
look at
the
this.
flock of eagles.
That
It was
is
amazing. It was
equal
amazing.
country.
Yeah.
Beautiful. They're acting like seagulls.
They are.
Yeah.
Actually, they're eating the seagulls.
Well, they're eating anything they find. So,
Right.
and then from Alaska, you started kind of coming down. Well, you had was this the part of the welcome ceremony, or?
No, I think this one is in British Columbia, actually.
Okay, down to British Columbia. Okay.
But they tore down all the big houses in all these communities, and they forbid traditional ceremonies back in those 250 years. But one of the first things that every community did was rebuild the big houses, because we can look at and measure poverty by absence of affluence or whatever. But one thing about the big house, they don't care how poor a child is. They have a home, they have a roof, and they're fed. And so these big houses are really where it's safe for family. And every without exception, every place we went to, we were taken to the big house first. Yeah. So quite an experience, and especially for our young ones we took up there. I'm saying in their 20s. I mean, to have them, got to change what we teach our kids so they're prepared for the next 2 generations for sure. And so the focus with us is getting access to our young ones from Hawaii to meet young ones from around the world and, and make a connection, their way. It's part of the pathway to healing in our beliefs. Yeah. Beautiful carving. I mean, just exquisite. And
were you able to connect with our fellow ocean elder Wade Davis while you were there?
I did. I'm not there. He was with I connected him in Hawaii during the voyage, but
Yeah.
but he helped us so much and clarifying so many things about looking at the communities, especially in British Columbia. He was a huge help and a great friend. But when we were in British Columbia, he was with his family up in the forest. And so he said, I'm not coming, I'm going to stay in the forest.
Stay in the forest.
Yeah. But he was there in heart for sure. Yeah.
Then is your
Fog. We don't
coast.
like fog. We
Yeah.
don't like fog. No.
When I was talking with you and when we met with you there in San Francisco and you came ashore there and talking about how treacherous this foggy conditions could be coming down that, the ancestral kelp highway and confronted with this fog.
We thought we'd get on 45 North or whatever, we're getting close, to something warmer. Boy, I tell you, I have so much respect for that Pacific Northwest coast. That is a dynamic place of strong winds, big wave. And then the fog, the fog, I've never seen it like run you over and there's nothing you can do. It's like we were coming in the corner by past Eureka and going around Mendocino Point. I can't remember the name is it. And then we looked to the south and it was just rolled from the southwest. It was rolling up and that's Alaska. Lucky we called because there's a pilot station there. And this fog is like lifting and this is like a 700-foot ship. And
it's terrifying.
we called the pilot station just to check in and say, is there any big ships around here? Because we can't see you. And then they weren't, well, we couldn't hear the foghorn, but they should be using it. But then they just kind of popped out of there. And and that you go to Seymour Narrows, right? Where the currents get up to 16 knots. Would be at full sail into the current, we'd be going 8 knots backwards in the Seymour current. So it's learning how that moon and the Earth's relationship, that beautiful relationship of gravity and stability of the axis of the Earth's rotation and how we have seasons is all about the miracle of the Earth and its relationship also to the moon. So, but the moon lifts a lot of water up there and then it lets it go down. And we took pilots with us in those areas that we knew enough to really get hurt fast. And so it was spectacular voyage about really being humble in the beauty and the power of nature.
And the risks, not just to, like you, in the voyaging canoe, but whales, collisions with these big ships. They can't call a pilot station and say, any big ships around?
True.
And they get also tangled with the infamous crab lines, crab pots, and other fishing gear. Again, it's a new ocean, so different when your ancestors began voyaging across the Pacific. There were no drift nets or long lines or
700-foot ships.
700-foot ships, right?
A floating city
with the noises, other things.
But yeah, this fog can just, as you say, just kind of engulf the entire landscape. And
it's like the ocean is breathing.
Yeah.
So we're going around, we see that bank coming up, but I've never seen anything. I've been on the ocean a lot. I've never seen anything like it. It was like thick on the surface of the ocean, but it was like clear above it, but just coming at you. And I was thinking, whoa. So I called the weather station. We cheat, we don't sail by traditional navigation. We have the best GPS technology when we go around these places for sure. but I called the weather station, NOAA, and said, I'll go, yeah, there's a bank coming in and it's going to pass you. It's going to go to Oregon and it's all the way down south past the San Francisco. So too bad, too sad. There's nothing you can do. And I was thinking, oh man, we're going to go back to Eureka and let it go by. But we did, and we kept going because I was worried about nighttime.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
that's more
and to ship
treacherous.
it out at nighttime. Yeah.
These ships have lights on at night.
Yeah. But you eventually made it down to the Golden Gate.
Yeah.
Eventually.
We did. It was
Luckily.
awesome.
Luckily, yes.
Yeah. Oh, it was beautiful. It was amazing. Yeah. God done. It's kind of priceless to be on the ocean that way. Yeah, here's our young ones, you know. The one on the left is a maritime graduate. He's sailing the big ships now, and the one on the right is just got a master's in environmental education. These are educated young people
Mhm.
wanting to be a part of something special in their lives. They're out there. Yeah.
We
And
have
they're good.
navigators these days. That's a new tradition, if I understand correctly,
Yeah.
which is a good one, I think.
I think so too. What did you, the same thing happened to you with the tech type program when they let the women participate in that after the one kind of big boss guy said, well, you know, half the fish are female.
Half the birds,
Half the birds.
whales.
I mean, sometimes you have to change the rules or the definitions to really adapt to a changing world. And the inclusion of women is about equity. If our organization did not do that, it would destroy the organization.
Yeah.
And the other thing about redefining who's the navigator, it depends on what the destination is. You know, we're sailing to a destination that we'll never find. We call it Va'ahonua. We call it Malama Honua, to care for the earth. It's an image, it's a vision where we'll sail to, but we'll never get there because we're going to be carrying in perpetuity. But who are the navigators for the 21st century to get to that cared earth? That's why Sylvia was the first one that we had adopted into the family of the 21st century great navigators, and the first one. And we have to redefine that to be able to make sure we're having those help us find the way. So it's shifting. Yes, young people still need to go find islands in the traditional way, but everyone needs to keep searching for the pathways to a healthy future that our children deserve. And so the 21st century navigators, we had to change the definition. And I will say it, we were so honored to ask Sylvia to be the first one. So whether she likes it or not, she's part of the navigation family.
She's got a pretty good grip on the stick here. Yeah.
I had some
Oh, she was awesome. She was awesome.
good, strong help.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going into the Golden Gate right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at that. That must just feel alive in your hands, huh?
Yeah, no, it was exhilarating.
And then here at Ghirardelli.
Yeah.
You're-
This is where I arrived. It was
And
really
again, you asked permission
yeah.
from the people who had deep roots in the
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Families for thousands of years. Yeah.
It was spectacular.
It was. There's so many, other canoes that came through to greet you. How many were represented at that? I know the whole beach was just covered in canoes.
I don't know. I didn't.
It was
Yeah, I mean, because you're passing them, they're passing you, and I don't know. There was, I didn't count them, but it was really, it was really gratifying to us that, I mean, if we arrived and there was no canoes,
Yeah.
then that the journey we did wrong. The journey was wrong. We messed it up, and that would have meant that there was no value. And that would have meant you need to figure things out and improve them. And because that would tell you to a large degree you're not connected.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case on this voyage. But I will also say though, when we go to places like when there's bad weather, we pull in, some of the most precious arrivals has been when we go to a place where they don't know who we are
Mm,
and we don't know who they are, but there's this somehow our crew members are very sensitive to paying respect. And so after a while, these strangers, they take you in. And what's so important about those times was it wasn't pre-planned. It wasn't engineered ahead of time. So that when they take you, and like in British Columbia, they took us up into the streams, and they started to show how they're cleaning the streams and they're protecting the fresh water, and they didn't have to do that, but they
yeah.
knew we wanted to know, and so they would every day they would take us someplace, strangers, and that's where you have a lot of hope that there are so many. I mean, I wish we had a map of the world that could identify every place in communities are doing something to protect their community and their home for the rest of the world. Because now today, it's not like you're just protecting your community or your oceans. Whatever act of kindness you're doing is really for all the people in the world. Because we need to know that we're all doing our responsibility. And our job is just very simple. It's just to help that wave move bigger and faster.
Yeah, it's so nice they took you kind of up to look at the rivers because it just really makes that connection back to the ocean, especially for
And they
the
were tying it to the fish. They were tying,
Yeah.
these rivers need to be clean
Right.
and beautiful. Yeah.
And I love some of the images of the kids, you know, and their commitment,
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pledges.
their pledges. I will pick up the garbage.
Good start.
And this one, I will always be myself.
That smile.
Never change for someone else.
Go for it. Look at that face. Yes. Oh,
Yeah, and here they are. They're just ready to take the canoe right out the gate.
Yeah.
It was just so awesome having there's so many kids that came out for the ceremony there in San Francisco. I mean, they were just racing up and down the beach, and there was just so much energy.
Yeah.
well, one of the most significant global aspects of this is speaking for the ocean. It's baffling. That view of Earth from space. We know that Earth is dominated by water, ocean, life in the ocean, but somehow it continues to slip through the cracks when we talk about climate, when we talk about planetary security, when we talk about the human future. This is a rival.
Yeah. This is in Eureka, I think. I can't remember. I think so. I might be wrong. There were a lot of them.
Slipped in a couple here where you came to meet up with a Blue Climate
Mhm.
Initiative in Tetiaroa.
Oh yeah,
Maybe,
cool.
and met up with another of the couple of the ocean elders. I think the next image may get us there.
Oh, it's funny.
Richard is photobombing,
Yeah.
but there's
Richard and
Sven
Gwen. Yeah.
Lindblad,
Yep.
Richard Bailey, who hosted this remarkable gathering, and
Yeah.
it was just extraordinary having Hokulea and show up and be there for just a welcome and a bringing together people in anticipation of what you're doing now. You know,
Yeah.
sort of setting the path, making the sail plan. There you are, greeting the people in
Mhm.
the area and conveying the vision of bringing people together the way the ocean should bring all of us together.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is the important slide, right? The super important slide. The
Yeah.
octopus.
This is very, very deep. And I'm gonna say that I certainly don't know the whole story. It's much deeper than I'll ever know. But if you look at the octopus in the head, it says Hawai'i, and Hawai'i can be translated into many different definitions. But the way I was taught, it's the homeland. It's homeland of your ancestors. So, for instance, you're in Hawaii, you pass away, you go to places called Lele'iwi, and you dive into the ocean. You go underneath the ocean, and the ocean will take you back to Hawaii, to your homeland. That word in there at the head of the octopus is really important. Underneath that head is a place called Tapu Tapu Atea. And that's what we think. And there are going to be those that may not completely agree with what I'm saying, but I don't know anybody in Polynesia that knows enough about the history would disagree with this notion that there was a central homeland. And what little I know, that was on this Tapu Tapu Atea was the great navigation school. What I was told was that the final preparation with deep sea exploration voyages was you had to come to Tapu Tapu Atea to prepare spiritually for these voyages. And if you, from that point, and it's really interesting that if you take my father's name, his name's rooted back to Paoa. Paoa that name is 1/4 of the Rapa Nui people is Paoa in Easter Island. And a woman in Aotearoa confronted my father when we sailed there in '85 and said her name was Paoa. And we know through all these islands. And so the guess is that the Paoa family were a very strong navigation family, came from Tapu Tapu Atea, and then they would go out on these on the octopus, the legs of the octopus. So if you would see the one that goes north, the top of that goes all the way to Hawaii, and then one goes to east to Rapa Nui, and then one goes southwest, where it says Chapman, New Zealand, and to Rapa, and to all these islands. These are the islands of Polynesia, primarily. And so what it talks is about what we started to learn from the very beginning, not very much, but we started to learn that you have to pay respect to this place called Tapu Tapu Atea. Every voyage we go down there, we go there, and we meet with the elders, making sure that we are doing the voyaging properly, that we're representing them properly, and then and also know that the octopus, the legs of the octopus, they have names. And the name from Tapu Tapu Atea to Hawaii is Keala I Kahiki, the pathway to, we call it Kahiki Nui, but it's Kahiki is another word. Some say Tahiti, we say Kahiki Nui. Kahiki Nui is a much larger area, but it's French Polynesia, 22, 23, 100 miles of open ocean, only water. And it's a road, it's a traditional road that our ancestors had sailed. It's in our creation chants, it's in our old, what we say, mo'olelo, our old stories that were forgotten, but now it's starting to make sense. And so that road, we want it back. This is our road. I mean, I don't know what, 40, 50 years ago, Law of the Sea wrote some lines on a map, but nobody had respect for us. Nobody had respect for our roads, our traditional roads. And this is sacred place, and we want it back. Yeah. The Maoris want it back. The Rapa Nui people want it back. You know, they want, and then they also want to have the mountains underneath the ocean be respected culturally.
Absolutely.
And fair. It's fair. It's our values, and so, you know, this really draws a different map than the ones that we're used to reading. And this is the map from the mind and the heart of our ancestors, and we want it back. So we are sending our young ones down the road this spring, 2 teams. There'll be 2 full voyages out of Hilo, 2,000 miles each. Halfway down the road, we were going to go to Tahiti, but I'll tell you, El Niños had just El Nino is changing voyaging. You know, it just is. And because there's just this kind of very strong El Nino close to being, you know, one of the most strongest in 174 years of climatology by NOAA, has changed it. So the south of the equator, they have a lot of the convergence zone shifted there, and that's the road of the hurricanes and the tropical cyclones. It was not the conditions that, if our intent is to let the young people go and discover, we're not going to send them out on a voyage, that they're going to fail. They were not prepared for that kind of weather. You know, the complex westerly winds and their rainfall, squalls, lightning. And so we said, okay, you just go down to the convergence and you go hang out in one of the most spectacular climates on the earth. It's so interesting where we are now. Next year will be 50 years since Hokulea was launched. And when we were going to sail on the first voyage, we had a meeting and everybody was guessing about the ocean. Everybody was guessing about the traditions. So there was a word that was brought up that became like a word that you better fear right now because it's really bad. And it was called the doldrums. And you know, where the big southeast trade winds and the south and northeast trade winds collide, and that kind of semi-permanent front, and then the big ocean gyres, maybe the biggest in the world, collide and bring up all that nutrient-rich water. We didn't know any of that. What we were told was, the first story was, okay, you're going to sail down there, but it's an area calm. The only way to get through it is sail really, really fast. And when it goes calm, you just glide through the doldrums. You paddle the rest of the way. So we did like paddling tests in Honolulu Harbor. And after 1 mile, we couldn't paddle any farther because the canoe weighs 24,000 pounds, and we didn't factor that in. And then, but the fear of the doldrums, and even up until my time when I did my first voyage, was just, I was afraid that it's going to take away my eyes. It's the cloudiest place on earth and rainiest. And but now our young ones, they don't fear that. They want to go inside of it and they want to be a part of it. I just gonna have to make sure they get out, they come back home, and they want to be in something that's wild. They want to be in something that's spectacular. And so we're changing, you know, we're learning, we're growing. And by the way, I see you put Master Navigator. You got to change it. I'm a student navigator. We're just students.
Say that every time, I know.
Okay. Anyway, the octopus becomes a symbol of who we are, where we come from, and what family looks like. And family and home needs to be protected. It's what we love.
I think it's a wonderful symbol of protection for the high seas.
Yes.
And
the deep sea.
And the deep sea below. What's under the octopus? What's under the canoe? It's the surface all the way to the depths, the greatest depths. The idea that it's the ocean. It's really your home as much as the land, maybe more. So to recognize that and respect that and protect that, this is right now one of the areas of the planet, the high seas in the Pacific, where fleets of ships are operating with very little conscience, regulation, or any ethic of caring. It's just take, squid, fish. And the people who are employed are not there because they love the ocean. They're there because they, sometimes against their will, they're taken on board these big ships in Urbina. Even in the current issue of the New Yorker, describes what life is like for them in these big ships that are stripping the ocean of life. And that was Tahiti. Go back to Tahiti.
Back to Tahiti.
Yeah.
I'll go. I'm happy to be there.
Yeah, again, the symbol, a little bit of land, but a whole lot of ocean that is now the last best chance we'll ever have, perhaps, to really show respect and caring and protection with laws that are coming into effect. The law of the sea now giving an opportunity for protection of the high seas. But I know what the voyage really has the potential for doing, bringing people together to speak with one voice about the importance of protecting the ocean, their home, our home, everyone's home. When you think about it, we're all sea creatures. We all need the ocean. None of us can live without the ocean. We're as dependent on the sea as any whale or shark or coral reef. So what you're doing, I hope will really energize around that symbol of hope.
Yeah,
You know,
I hope so too. Yeah, we're trying.
there you are.
Here he is.
That was a sunrise, not a sunset.
I know, but we have a few questions we have to get to before the top of the hour.
Well, we don't have
Okay.
to, but it'd be nice to.
I'd just like to hear from people that have questions for us. Okay, the first question. I thought we were still navigating by Polynesian ways. How to determine when to use scientific technology and GPS. Did Alaskan natives only use wind, water, stars, birds, etc. in the fog, or did they stay in close to the shore?
You know, we use our primary most important thing is safety. And so, you know, we do things that are out of the safety envelope that we need to do. If we have to go to a special place through the Seymour Narrows, we'll use all the technology in the world to keep the canoe crew safe. So on roughly the worldwide voyage, probably we sailed where we sail with traditionally without instruments. It's really on the high seas, where you are not in narrow channels. You don't do it on like in coastal places like the Great Barrier Reef. You don't fool around, and so safety is the main issue. And then sailing with traditionally is a privilege. You know, when it's the right conditions. The Alaska Native is interesting, and I'll tell you a story. That man, Byron Malott, he brings his board of directors of all the organization he runs to my mom's house. And Sylvia, you've had dinner there. Both of you have had dinner there. And we have more people at my mother's house, and Hawaii has at the convention center. And
Everyone comes.
Byron tells me, well, let's go sailing. So we take all these Alaskans sailing, and we come in, and then he says, well, tell them how you navigate. And then one guy goes, the exact question: what happens when it's cloudy? And we say, well, we steer by the waves from the big gyre, the big trade wind waves that are consistent. And it's normally from the east. It's not that simple, but without getting too complicated, we look for the east wave, and we steer by the east wave. And there was Oliver Levitt. He's from the old name was Barrow, the farthest north of all American towns, and in the Arctic. And he's a fisherman, and he's a hunter, and he's super quiet. I never see him say a single word. Then he just quietly goes, you know, we do the same thing. When the whiteout comes and you can't see anything, they get down on their hands and knees and they dust off the snow. And what they see is the prevailing winds frozen in the ice. The easterly winds makes a wave in the ice, and it's frozen. So when they dust it off, they know where east is. And from there, they can tell where home is. So the navigation has to be the same principles of knowing where you need to go, how far away, and all that kind of stuff, and speed. But the navigation's the same if you just accept that the way you're going to be shown where you need to go is nature, but the nature is different. On the equator is different than Alaska, but still you are dependent on reading the nature. And that's what my teacher always said: if you can read the wave, you're never lost. And he also say, if you know that all you need to know, He said, I will show you everything and nature will give you everything, but it'll be 20 years before you see. So it's that patience of learning, but it all goes back to your relationship to nature.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it had to do as well historically with the kelp distribution down the coast as well. They talk about the kelp highway and following the huge abundance that was kind of along the shore, but it was kind of a guide that you could even see it close up even when it was foggy.
Yeah.
And the birds.
And the birds, of
The
course.
sea lions.
Yeah, I hear them barking.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Elizabeth is asking, what are your thoughts about the Olympics wanting to build a platform over the reef in Tahiti? Do you think organizations like this should be more accountable for the environmental impacts, considering that these are just one-time events?
I wasn't aware this was happening.
It's for the surfing competition.
Tahiti's family and that kind of question, I can give you my personal answer, but the real answer is talking to the communities there, the Tahitians. It's their home, not mine. And so they have to make that decision. And it's really about, right? I mean, it's essentially about asking the gifts of the ocean to keep giving for money and the bottom line. And if someone were going to propose having the Olympics outside of my house and my reef, no way. There's no way you can tower in my reef. And so I cannot speak for them. But if you're asking me my opinion in my home that I can't speak for, no way. I wouldn't let them do it.
Yep.
It's not right. I mean, because you're going to show this to the whole world, but what values are you teaching the world? That it's okay to go destroy a reef to make a good photograph for you? We got drones, we got all kinds of other things we could do, other kind of technologies. Let's figure it out.
I think there are other.
That's my opinion. But I just want to make sure that I'm not speaking for the Tahitians, because they have to choose that. But for me, my home, no.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Kate is asking, when will the voyage resume and where will you start?
Well, actually, the voyage really kind of didn't stop, from our opinion. We had to come home because we were asked to, because of the tragedy and of the fire in Lahaina. And but when I was born and started to understand this world, it was, and it's a long time ago, there was so much promise for the future, right? Everything, and we talked about our relationship to like Hawaii, lucky you live Hawaii, and all these kinds of things. And there was so much belief that after that, just the insaneness of World War II, we're going to build a better world. And that all the things are going to be better. And then you had commercials of, how we would pride ourselves of being the rubbish community and dispose and throw things away, as if that's a privilege of a human being, because we didn't know. Yeah. And then you fast forward to today, and that the language has changed over here in Hawaii. More Hawaiians for the first time in the history of that we know don't live here anymore because they can't afford. And the real estate is just wrong and insane. And you don't say lucky live Hawaii anymore because it's so expensive, and it just it's the microcosm. But when we came home for Lahaina, we started to feel that other communities wanted us to be with them. Yeah. So we are going to do these 2 voyages of training to get our young ones ready to take the canoes from us because we're too old. And then we're going to, there's a Festival of Pacific Arts, so we're going to participate. And then we're going to take off on a 2,500-mile voyage to Moananuiākea, the National Marine Sanctuary, and then into the 8 major Hawaiian islands to 26 ports to serve 34 communities. Each community is defined by their schools. So we are working with the public school system to create access, either real or virtual, to every single child in the school system. And our job is to have them understand where we're going and why. Why are we taking Hokulea home? And how do we get them on the voyage? We do it through education. We do it through the third canoe. We get Sylvia to take them underwater and get these amazing people in the world to take them on adventures that they can't go, but at least now, but you hope that you plant the seed of exploration and discovery in them and love of home. So we're actually building a foundation of education before we go. And so we're going to resume going back to the sail plan. And now, no, we came home from San Diego
Yeah.
on a Matson ship because of El Nino. Smart move because it was really bad weather. And then we're still aloha to Lahaina, but now it's like aloha to all your communities. Just go and listen and pay attention. And so that engagement with communities is going to allow us to know how to be better servants to those communities. So this year is crucially important. 10,000 miles of sailing. And then we may dispatch our other canoe, Hikianalia, to go to other islands for a number of reasons. So in the end, we're now at 53,000 miles. And so March of about next year, it'll be 50-year birthday for Hokulea on the 8th of March. And we'll be leaving for French Polynesia around the 15th to resume that voyage. And we will catch up Mexico and Central America and South America and Rapa Nui on 2028. So we're actually adding a year to the Moananuiākea voyage. But this one is foundational of staying close to our communities and our families first.
Excellent. And Tom is asking, what are the ways that people can support the Polynesian Voyaging Society in addition to donations? How can they be involved in the mission of navigating for the Earth?
You know what I think? Choose what you can do. Every act of kindness and compassion to the most difficult of our communities, to our classrooms and the halls of our colleges, to protecting a reef, and by protecting the watershed that keeps the water clean to get to the reef. Whatever anybody do, I would think my response is just to choose what act of kindness you want to do, because whatever act of kindness you're doing, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for all of us. It's the wave we're talking about. It's the movement we're talking about, but it begins with a choice, right? An active choice on what your values, and make a contribution, and then send it to us. You know, we have the technology to put these stories into many stories, and so that in the end, if we view the Earth as an island, then we have to view that we're all islanders, and that we all come from the same family tree. Therefore, we're all still family, and if we can continue to hold love of home and love of family, and keep that focus in front of us, and know that we're much more alike than we're different, and break down all the things that I've never seen a world that ever described it's so fracturing that it is now. You have to have voyages like this that's like almost like an intentional vaccine against the fracturing that we're going to work to pull together. So I would say just what you value, choose. And create some kindness on the earth, and that's going to be, I think, the best thing you can do.
People will be able to follow the canoe, follow this whole voyage, and anywhere along the way that you see something needs to be done, you don't have to be asked.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask permission to help.
To care.
Just dive in with it, right? And to care.
Yeah.
It is really all about
It's
the
that third canoe. It's the voice that touches. It's available, should be available to everyone to be part of the voyage.
yeah. And it's that whole story of connection. You know, the water connects us all. We say it every time.
Yeah.
But we are at the top of the hour, and there's a few more questions in the queue, but we will forward those on to Nainoa and try to answer them for you.
Okay.
But we really want to thank everyone for their time today. And before we go, we do want to, again, grateful to you all, grateful to the Ocean Elders. Thank you, Nainoa. And we'll be back later this month. And until then, protect the ocean.
As if your life depends on it, because
It
it
does.
Yes.
Thank
Aloha,
you so
folks.
much,
Thank
Nainoa.
you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
guys. Take care.
Bye for now.
Yeah, aloha.
Bye.